Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Random Thoughts. I am your humble DM, Tim, and today we're going to talk about two, actually, of my favorite species in Dungeons & Dragons. Technically one, but really two. The Gith, or the Githzerai and the Gith Yankee. Now, for those of you that have played Baldur's Gate 3, you'll have gotten a pretty good education on the Gith Yankee. Not so much on the Githzerai. So we're going to have a bit of a talk about what you get when you're playing one of these two species, and then I'm going to tell a little story about a character build that I did back when I was running when I was playing it, I should say, not running, in an Icewind Dale campaign. So yeah, let's jump into it. If you're looking to play as a Gith, you're going to need this book, Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse, and you will find both the Gith Yankee and the Githzerai on pages 18 and 19 of this book. So we'll go over the Gith Yankee first. You're a humanoid, you're medium, you have a walking speed of 30 feet, so fairly standard stuff. Astral knowledge, this is what I think, this is what makes the Gith Yankee really good. You can mystically access reservoirs of experience of entities connected to the astral plane. Whenever you finish a long rest, you gain proficiency in one skill of your choice and with one weapon or tool of your choice, selected from the player's handbook. As you momentarily project your consciousness into the astral plane, these proficiencies last until the end of your next long rest. So what that means is that provided you've got the prep time before you head out on a mission, you can take yourself on a long rest, project your consciousness out into the astral sea, and literally do whatever it is, or learn whatever it is you need to learn. If you're going to be picking a lot of locks, you can learn sleight of hand and thieves' tools. If you now with the new ability to craft, you can give yourself proficiency in any of the tools and craft. Get out of here, bug. You can craft whatever it is you want. If you give yourself wood carving tools and carve yourself a ladder. So, it's very, very useful ability. Even more so now, I think, in the current edition than what it was in the previous edition. But anyway, next ability you get is Gith Yankee Psionics. Mage Hand as the cantrip, and the hand is invisible when you cast it with this trait. And then starting at 3rd level, you can cast the Jump spell, and starting at 5th level, you can also cast Misty Step. Once you cast Jump and Misty Step with the traits, yada yada yada, it only works with once, and then you can cast it with spell slots if you've got them available to you. Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma is your spellcasting modifier, and you are, of course, resistant to psychic damage because the Gith don't like to fuck around with mind flayers, and so you're going to want to be resistant to psychic damage. Now, Jump has actually gotten a pretty decent improvement now, in that it allows you to sacrifice 10 feet of your movement to jump 30 feet. So it's kind of actually similar to the Herringen, actually, provided you have the jump spell up. And it's not a concentration spell either. So once you cast that, it effectively gives you a 20-foot movement increase while it's up. So it's nothing to sneeze at now. It wasn't quite as good back in the day because it just tripled your jump distance, but now, because of the increase in move distance, it's really, really good. So the Githzerai are actually a lot more mobile than what they were in previous editions. And now moving on, we're going to talk about... Sorry, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about Gith Yankee. Sorry, not Githzerai. The Gith Yankee are a lot more mobile than what they were in previous editions. But now we're going to talk about the Githzerai. I apologize. The Githzerai I actually enjoy a lot more than the Gith Yankee, partly because of their origins. We'll go into a little bit of a tangent here. For those of you that are unaware of the backstory of the Gith were slaves of the Mind Flayers, and at some point in their history, one of their number, by the name of Gith, she was able to develop a resistance to the Mind Flayer's mind control and was able to lead a resistance against them. And because the species didn't have a name, they were literally just thralls back then, they named themselves after Gith, and that is where they got their name. And then stuff happened in their history and they decided to split off. The Githyanki being a lot more militant and are still waging the war against the Mind Flayers, whereas the Githzerai, although they do fight against the Mind Flayers, they're not as militant, and they actually live on the plane of Limbo. Now, Limbo is a realm of chaos, so much so that thought actually can become reality. So while you're there, you have to really be careful of what you think. It is a realm of pure chaos. And the Githzerai are so skilled that they have been able to meditate and just maintain through their collective will these massive cities of crystal in the plains of Limbo. Really, really cool stuff. And their primary enemy are the Slards, which are frog people, a bit like Mind Flayers in terms of what they do. They implant tadpoles that chest burst out. So not quite as horrible as what a Mind Flayer is, but similar, but also not. But anyway, back to the Githzerai. Like their brethren, they are a medium humanoid with a walking speed of 30 feet. They have an ability called Githzerai Psionics. They also know Mage Hand. However, at 3rd level, they know the Shield spell, and at 5th level, they get Detect Thoughts. So, right away, a Githzerai is a really powerful combatant, because the Shield spell, giving you a +5 to your AC as a reaction, is awesome. And you get that from level 3. So if you're playing most mid-level campaigns, you're getting that right from day 1. So if you're playing as a monk or a fighter or a rogue, when you're dealing with those low AC type characters, at least early on, getting that boost of 5 points, even though you're not playing as a wizard, is really, really good. And then you've got mental discipline, which they have in place of the astral knowledge. Your innate psychic defenses grant you advantage on saving throws to avoid being charmed and frightened conditions. And of course, they have psychic resistance as well. So those are your two different Gith species. As you can see, they have their pros and cons, but really what I'm here to talk about for the most part, I think, really what I'm here to talk about is how best to roleplay as one of these people. So let's, for example, go down the line of the Githyanki. Now, as I said, with Baldur's Gate 3, the character of Lae'zel and all of the Gith in that, you have a pretty good understanding of how their species works. They are a militant species. They hold themselves superior to everyone else. All other species are below them. And you have to earn their, what's the word I'm looking for? Not trust. Respect. That's what I'm looking for. You have to earn their respect. You can't just walk up and say hello to a Gith, or if you even insult a Gith, they will kill you on the spot just for looking at them the wrong way. So when you're playing as a Gith, almost every time, and we're going to get into a little bit of a tangent here as well, almost every time you're going to want to play as a Gith, you're going to want to play, I think, as lawful evil. Now, I know we're going to get into an alignment argument here, but again, just follow me on this one here. Because one of the things that a lot of people don't really seem to understand about evil characters is no one really thinks of themselves as evil. Everyone thinks that they are doing the right thing. The tale or the saying that everyone is the hero of their own story. No one wakes up and thinks to themselves, yes, I'm going to do evil today because I am evil and that is what I do. But something or someone that is a lawful evil person basically means that they are self-interested. They won't go out of their way to help people unless it benefits them in some way. Someone who is good will go out and attempt to do good. They will attempt to help the world. They will attempt to make the world better. Whereas evil, being self-interested, will only attempt to achieve their goals. And if what they are attempting to do or the people around them do not help them achieve their goals, they are not of use. And so when you're playing as a Gith Yankee, you got to get yourself into that mindset. Now, that's not to say that when you're playing with a group that you can't be a follower, right? That's not going to be the way, because sometimes you're not going to be able to be the one in charge of your group. And hopefully if you're playing D&D properly, there's no one who is the leader of your group. You always have the group dynamic to work out who sort of is the instigator, I guess would be the best way to describe it. But when you are playing one of these characters, you don't want to be timid at all. You always want to be forthright, and you always want to make sure that your position is known. Now, if the situation doesn't go in a way that you would like, you don't go and have a hissy fit and quit and whatever else. A similar thing to a lot of Gith is they will suffer in silence a lot of the time. They are very, very disciplined, the Gith Yankee. And so you want to make sure that you're playing stoic. You want to make sure that you are tough. You want to make sure that you are competent. But you also want to make sure that you have a code. And that's where the lawful part of the lawful evil comes in. So what you would want to do, background is also very important on this. And this is where my character story comes in. So my motivation when I built my Gith character was I actually took a Gith Yankee, but a Gith Yankee that was attempting to follow the path of the Gith. Sorry, other way around. My character was a Gith Zerai that was attempting to follow the path of the Gith Yankee. And the way that I figured would be the best way to do that would be, shocking, I know, to play as a ranger. And not just any ranger, but a Drake Warden ranger. Which you will find on... where are we? Put this down. You'll find in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. Right here at the front of the book on page 15. So what Drake Wardens do is they actually give you the ability to raise up a dragon companion. They were sort of the only decent way to play the Beastmasters up until the current edition of D&D, but they're still very, very good in 5.5. But what you get with the Drake Warden is literally a little dragon companion. You start off at level 3. You have a small Drake companion that you can command, and if the dragon dies, you can just bring it back to life. So it's a bit like a familiar in that regard, but you can bring it to life for free once per day, and then you get to summon it using additional spell slots if you have them. And if you're a ranger, you'll have those spell slots, and there's not a lot that you can really spend them on, at least for the most part. I guess you're doing your hunter's mark. Ugh. But what the Drake Warden also does is eventually, when you reach level... where are we? When you reach level 7, The Drake is then able to fly, and it's now a medium creature, and you can use it as a mount. Unfortunately, what that means is that it doesn't actually allow you to fly while you're on its back, but you still do get the additional mobility of having a mount. Now, because the mount is medium, taking the mounted combatant feat isn't always going to be worth it because you don't get the advantage on targets that are smaller than you. However, if you have a party member with the ability to cast Tasha's Bubbly Cauldron, or you have shops nearby that allow you to get potions of Enlarge Reduce, feed one of those to your Drake before you go into combat. You'll now have a large mount, and you'll be able to strike down people quite efficiently from the back of your dragon. And then once, of course, you reach level 15, the dragon becomes large and you can fly around on it. So you get to do the awesome raising up of your dragon from birth to maturity as the campaign goes on. So my character that I built in the Icewind Dale campaign, as I said, he was a Gith that was trying to follow the path of the Githyanki. He wanted to be a Kithrak, or a dragon knight. And so my backstory was that he had found a chaos dragon egg, because in the backstory of the Gith, the reason that the Githyanki are able to ride on red dragons is because Vlaakith and Gith went into the Hells to negotiate a deal with Tiamat for the services of her dragons. No one really knows what happened in the conversation there, but Gith didn't come back, and that's why Vlaakith, or all of the different Vlaakiths down the line of succession in the Gith Zerai society, have been in charge, and no one really knows what happened to Gith. But it does mean, ever since then, that the Githyanki have been given the honor of riding red dragons, and the Gith Zerai attempted a similar deal with the Chaos Dragons that live in Limbo, but it didn't really work because they are a little bit too chaotic. But there are certain Gith Zerai that actually have managed to tame Chaos Dragons, or at least have established a relationship with Chaos Dragons, allowing them to use them as mounts. And so, with my character being a Gith Zerai, I wouldn't be able to have a red dragon, but I could have a Chaos Dragon. And because when you summon your Drake, you get to choose what the elemental type it is, whether it be red, green, white, black, blue, red. Yeah, I think that's the whole collection there. You get to pick that thing. And so that was sort of the idea, was that he was a Chaos Dragon, so whenever I summoned him, he would be a different color. I'd actually roll to see what color he was that time. And the other ability, of course, when you have your dragon, is that it can infuse your weapon with that elemental type, as well as granting you resistance to that elemental type. The other really cool thing about it, which is kind of ridiculous, is that they are also immune to that elemental type. So a red Drake from a Drake Warden is immune to fire damage, which is crazy. So you can actually run it across an ocean of lava if you wanted to in certain situations, and you don't take any damage from it. Definitely recommend getting yourself a Saddle of the Cavalier as well as one of your uncommon magic items, because it means you cannot be dismounted from your mount while you're conscious, and trust me, your DM is going to want to dismount you from that. It also grants your mount grants people disadvantage to attack your mount, so always a very, very useful thing to have. Yeah. Kind of lost my train of thought. Where was I? So, Gith Zerai, Chaos Dragons, Gith Yankee, Red Dragons. Yeah, really, that's kind of it. I've sort of said what I wanted to say. Again, this is just me sort of randomly rambling about the Gith. And again, I absolutely love the Gith. I love their stoicism. I love their militaristic nature. I love that they can be basically complete dicks to people and no one really wants to mess with them. And again, I know people are going to say this basically has edgelord written all over it. If you're going to be playing as a Gith and you're going to go pure edgelord, you're not really doing it right. That's not what the Gith are. These are warriors. They are knights. They have a code. They see everyone else as lesser, mostly because in the long run, they're the ones that have been fighting against the Mind Flayers in order to prevent them from taking over the universe. And when they look at everyone else in the universe, it's like, well, what have you done today? I've been training my entire life to fight this menace that is preventing it from taking over the galaxy and enslaving myself as well as you. You're welcome. You owe me for your freedom. And that is really the attitude of where the Gith, or at least the Gith Yankee, come from. So there is a certain element of arrogance, and you've really got to walk that very thin line. So if you're going to play as a Gith Yankee, you've got to be very, very careful. You've got to skirt that line. And I will say, again, they work also really, really well. It's probably one of the only real times that I would highly recommend playing as a ranger, because a Gith Drake Warden thematically is just phenomenal, and they are a lot of fun. Now, another thing as well, just before I wrap up here, I will say it does suck that you can't fly around on your mount right off the bat, but there are ways around that, so be sure to talk to your DM. I was very fortunate with my DM that he allowed me that if I made my mount large, he said, well, because it's large, its wings are capable of carrying me on its back while I fly, and so I was able to fly. But if that's not the case, there are other ways to go about it. There are certain items and certain spells, such as levitate, that basically make you weightless. Now, if you're weightless, you don't necessarily need to ride your mount. You can surf behind it. So imagine having your Drake, you cast weightlessness on yourself, you've built some sort of special harness, and the Drake flies off and you're literally being towed behind it. You can surf behind a dragon, swinging your two-handed sword or shooting your bow, however it is you've decided to equip your Gith. So, yeah. Again, just another random musing on one of my favorite species. If you're curious about seeing how that character played out, there was some it was a pretty heart-wrenching story, actually. And I won't get into that right now, but it's on the channel. You can find it in the Icewind Dale playthrough. My character was Gresk Krendrick, and his I don't even know where I got that fucking name from. And his dragon was Talakith. And I know where I got Talakith from, because Talakith is the word sword of honor in the Gith language. So, yeah. All right, that's it. I've rambled on for long enough about this thing here. I'm not really sure this was a very good video. I hope it's been useful to anyone out there. If it has, please remember to like and subscribe. If it hasn't, just do it anyway, please. It really helps out the channel. Until next time, I have been your humble DM, Tim, and remember to keep on blending. Bye!